afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening in Liberia. I know it's about 1 minute after 7 in Liberia, and I want to say good afternoon to our people here in the United States, Houston, Texas. I am. My brother is somewhere part of the world, and he's joining me today, Mr. Augustine G. Sharif. Mr. Sharif,
Yes, sir.
how are you doing at the end of your world, wherever you are?
Man, I am grateful. I'm alive. I'm breathing. I'm talking to the great man, Sapolucia. I'm super, super excited. I'm doing well.
Yes, sir. And before we go further, I just want to apologize to our listening audience that last week, due to some technical issues, we could not go live. We had a show going, but some technical malfunction. As we all know, technology is our greatest asset and sometimes can let us down. So we just want to
Yes,
say we
sir.
apologize for the interruption last week. But today we want to discuss some interesting topic, and everyone will have their own interpretation of where we are going. But our main topic today is politics versus policy, right?
Mm-hmm.
In
Mm-hmm.
my opinion, in the last 20 years, if I would just let the Liberians and audience know that in the last few years or 20 years, if I can be precise, Liberians have tend to focus more on politics than politics, right? Politics, I know they all stand the CP, but politics than policies. Okay, because some people would say because of everything that has been done historically is not being personalized, right? Where when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to leadership, people are devoting their time to leadership or the individual who is leading a political party or well, we don't even have political institutions, so I'm not going to go that far. But the individual party and that have led to weakening institutions and political culture that is now being shaped just to focus on the individual leading the parties that they had and even the government that they had. So they are not looking at what the government can give them, they're looking at what the individual in the government can give them. Now, I'm wrong with my assessment, but if you look at the last 20 years, especially after the war, nothing really have developed, in my opinion, and those who are in Liberia, to see that we can look at and say, look, this institution was built and have been maintained over the years. And I can
Mm-hmm.
give examples.
Sure.
Anyone driven in Liberia in the last, let's say, 20 years, I'll go back to 20 years from 2006 to 2026. The Bushville Island, almost every year, that road is being rebuilt, re-renovated, something reconstructed. And every time we go there, they will break ground and show the politics about it. Well, we just did this road, and then a few weeks later, no, there is no way to pass, right? And we have to be bypassing that Somalia Drive. I mean that Freeport from Freeport Junction all the way to Lookington. You have to bypass to get around to get to Beer Factory before you can get on. So, in my opinion, leaders have just been portraying politics that can catch the eyes of the people, but no policy being put in place to ensure that these roads that they are building are maintained and have a lasting impact on society. But as we go through this, I know we have different or various I mean discussion on this. But Mr. Sheriff, if you look at what is going on in Liberia, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you view politics versus policy, what is your view, or how do you see the running of things in our country?
Yeah, I mean, let me agree with you. Firstly, when it comes to, I want to focus a little bit more on the politics side of things, right? I
Mhm.
think everything for the most part has been politicized, right? Everything in the country has been, is being, and will continue to be politicized. And it's so comical. Sometimes you see exactly what's happening. You will see someone taking credit for something. I mean, it's so funny because I think in the last month or so, maybe 2 months ago, when the Roberts International Airport road were lighted, with the solar panels that they put up there, when it was lighted, UP was taking credit for lighting up the entire Robert Fee Highway. And then seditions would come and say, no, that project started under George Weah. So George Weah should have credit. It did not even end there. There were another program at the Ministry of Youth and Sport. UP was taking credit for implementing a program that will help young people that will actually expand into future plans. Sedition, Isaac Doe came on board and said, no, that program started under me. Matter of fact, I wrote the paper for it. And so I look at all of these examples and say, look, politics has become the norm of everything. And as long as that continues, though, Mr. Sapalucia, in my humble opinion, I would tell you the country is going nowhere because the citizenry, the people in the middle, the everyday people like you and myself and my water and my yamanen that's selling the lapa and down water side, you and myself in the middle, we are just going to be the pawn in the game. When
Yeah.
CDC come, we get that T-shirt. When UP come, we get our T-shirt. When ANC come, we get our T-shirt, and we will just continue to be the bargaining chip for these 2 or 3 or 50 different political parties in the country. So I agree with you. Politics have taken hold of structural development and lots of infrastructure development. No policy in place. Nothing has happened, and these things have just become the norm in the country, unfortunately. Yeah.
And I'm going to introduce something today that I've been thinking about in the last few days. You know, when President Doe came and gave the so-called, he introduced multi-party system, right?
Mm,
But this
mm,
is what I see. I see since 2000, because when he started, I think, if I'm not mistaken, there were between 5 to 7 political parties, which I would consider a multi-party system. Then came 1997, we had
mm,
13 political parties. Now
mm.
we have multiplying political party system in Liberia. No more multi no more multi-party system, right? We have
It's
multiplying political party system in Liberia now.
it's becoming exponential, right?
Yeah, so it's
You know,
multiplying.
yeah, you guys were the math student, when you something to the third or the fourth power, whatever power. So
Yeah,
it just blew it. And it's so funny because if those political parties, if they have a structure to say, look, we will stay true. Look, let me not endorse any political party here, but let me at least try to give ANC a credit. Let me try to give ANC a credit. ANC is trying, and I use the word trying with capital letters. ANC is trying to build institution. And because they are trying to build institution, I'm not saying they're going to win election in 2029. I'm not saying they're winning the presidency in 2029. If they do, it'll be a blessing for the country because I think we need a new phase, a new start for everything. But they're trying to build institution. And the other political parties, the whole idea of institution building is not there. Everything right now is about politics. And even a statement that someone makes, it becomes politicized. So everything is about politics. Let's say, for example, I know Liberians hate it when I use the comparison between the USA and Liberia, but it is applicable. Now, when you look at the Republican Party, all of the focus now is we are going to do everything we can to promote J.D. Vance. We are going to give him the big assignments. We are going to put him on the world stage. We are going to make sure he's well known. We are going to make sure that he's the face of the MAGA movement. And so, come 2028, they will not have to guess to say who is our candidate. They have an institution that have been built. But
yeah,
right now, when you look at CDC, Weah has said that he did not even want to run after he lost the last election. He did not want to come back. But because the institution was not built and there is no one in place to actually be the next phase of that organization, Weah is being pulled back into it. People are pulling him back into this presidency that he does not even want, does not care for. And so that's exactly the example I wanted to make when it comes to institutional building, which is something way far beyond. Instead of playing politics, we should build institutions.
exactly. And that's what some of us have been saying for the past year since we've been on this platform and other platforms, right? That
Mhm.
instead of we continue to play this cat and mouse game, we should start focusing on the development of Liberia, right?
Yeah.
Now,
Hmm.
in order for a political party to become an institution, you will have to have a policy.
Sure.
Because there is no substantial policies that they can write on or they can move on, they can't build an institution. So it's become an
Sure.
individualized stuff. Now, we can go as far back as the 1980s. Okay, 1985. Let's start from there. because on 84 when the NDPL was created, and then we have Lab, we have LP. I mean, yeah, Lab, UPP, and what else? A few other political parties, right? Kesali,
Mhm.
Bole, Jackson Doe, Samuel Doe, and so forth, right? So
Mhm.
Bako Matthew had his own there too. So there were political individual who and I think that was the mistake at the time that Burns made. They didn't really sit to study what political institutions were to start building this institution. Because as soon as they saw that okay, it was like the kids running to a candy shop for the first time and they see this candy, so everybody want to grab and fill their pocket. I don't think when door opened that door and said multi-party system, I don't think our leaders at the time sat to really think about what we can do to bring a group of people together and establish a strong institution, right? Because I think
Mhm.
it was smart at that time. Instead of you having Bako Matthew, Bule, and Jackson Doe, and all the other guys, they will come together, Kesali at the time, and have one party to go against Doe since they felt that Doe was the oppressor and he was a dictator or whatever he is to
Yeah.
expose him. But instead, they were fighting against one another based on Bole coming from Bokante, his people go there. Jackson Doe, Nimakane, go there. Bako Matthew, Grand Basso, go there. And we had it, and then Kesali from Lofa, go there. So we had these scattering guys all over the place looking for affiliation based on ethnicity, not an institution that will be built to strengthen the grassroots base to build an
Yeah.
institution and bring on new leaders. It should only be them, and after them, they don't care what happened. I think that's where the breakdown came from, in my opinion.
And that will continue to be the norm, unfortunately. Riverside Pro, hello, my brother. But that will continue to be the norm, right? Because right now, as you look at it, I was talking to someone in Liberia, and they were telling me, they said, look, the only way you can win a presidential election in the country is from two name recognition.
Mm-hmm.
And if somebody was saying, it's either got to be Bwaka or George Weah in 2029. But no one else is going to even cut it to even win the presidency without the name recognition. And again, that actually stunt the development of political institution. Because after those two people have gone, after they shall have completed that role and they leave, now what? You start over. And
Yeah.
another thing, again, Mr. Sapolusi, I see that is actually detrimental to the development of political institutions in the country is this whole idea of everybody wanting the instant gratification.
Yes.
I mean, when you look around in the past 6 or 7 years, you see permanent members of other political parties crossing over
Mm-hmm.
because maybe they lost the election. There have been some prominent sedition that have now crossed over to be UPists.
Mm-hmm.
And there have been, I mean, during the weird time, there were UP people who left and became members of CDC.
Yeah.
And so, because of that, how were you? That's why I said from the beginning, let me give ANC some credit. They started very shaky. They messed things up. The coalition did not hold. I agree to all of that. But right now, they are trying to build something. And one thing that they have done, they have young people, they have capable people. When they had the last convention, they put people in place that are going to be responsible, and they are not begging you to stay. I know there's a prominent guy who is now on one of the sister network who was part of the ANC, and they suspended him. And so that's how you build a movement. Whether you win now, don't think about it now, think about you need to be forward thinking. And if you cannot have your quote unquote prominent members to stay in your organization, somebody say, how do you grow? How do you grow? How do you develop the institution for future growth? And I think that instant gratification is really killing the policy. I mean, the policy. I know we'll get to the policy point, but that instant gratification is killing the policy aspect of politics in Liberia. And because of that, institutions are not being developed and built.
Yes, and that's what River says is saying. River says is saying this isn't limited just to Liberia alone. It happened in religion as well as the Lutheran, the Lutheran SDA method, blah blah, and what and so forth, right? And
Hmm.
they didn't like the Catholic. So, and those are breakaway situations that happen. And when it comes to religion, I don't let them waste my time to go in that way. But when we look at the politics of Liberia, right, it's all about instant gratification, like you said. It's about the show, right?
Exactly.
I come up like right now, and there are these rumors that I'm hearing. And this some of these things we give out, we're giving the information out so that the government can recognize, or whoever is in place can recognize what they can do better. For example, we just talk about, I mentioned the yellow machine earlier. What they did not do when it comes to the yellow machine. I remember when the Jackson F. Dole Hospital, Memorial Hospital, was built in Nema County. And the reason it was a little bit successful because the Nemadians in the United States supported it heavily, right? Some of them sent their doctors there. But today, after the CDC government came out, they took those people from there
Hmm.
and brought them back to Monrovia, right? Even though the institution,
Hmm.
the building is there. But if you don't have
Yeah.
the manpower, trained manpower to man that institution, it's a waste of resources. Now, I'm
Sure.
referring to that because I'm hearing another thing from the Bogart government about, oh, we're opening large diagnosis centers. We're opening large diagnosis centers. You're building these infrastructures, laboratory centers that are, because that's my field and I know well about it. So you're building these infrastructures, but it being 2 years, 3 years, I have not heard anything that they're doing in the country, whether they're bringing instruments, whether they're training manpower. None of these things that you're hearing about. They're not preparing anybody to enter that place. But you
Mm.
build it, you put the structure up. Then when the time comes, you start looking for people to go in the building. And then you have people who are not well trained. So when they go in there, they spend 2, 3 years before you look, that building is standing there, but no one to work in it. And there where the
Yeah.
problem is. So it's all about politics, where the Baka government can say, hey, we built 4 diagnosis centers when we're there. Look, the next
Hmm.
government can destroy it. No, it's because you did not put policies in place that will maintain that institution for the next 2, 3, 4 generations. That is why it broke down. It's not because of the next government. So this is where we're trying to drive Liberia to. Let us focus more on policies that will build a system instead of just the instant gratification, like you said, that will show
Yeah.
to the public that I have done something, but in actuality, you have already accomplished nothing.
Yeah, you said, I want to go back to that system building, right? Man, I really like the point you make. I want to go back to the system building, that systematic building institution and putting things in place. I remember when President Obama was, I think it was during his second term when he went to Kenya. There was a journalist that asked him, Mr. President, you here? Who running the country? The man said, look, I do not need to be sitting in the Oval Office for the country to run. There are systems in place that govern, that runs the country. And that is such a true statement. You
Mhm.
know, look, with the system of our governors, our legislature,
You see, the Liberian people trying to they don't hijack the man in the internet. Though. The Liberian people they don't let for do it, educate them.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So basically, systems will work. But check this out, Mr. Sapalucia. When you look at the country as a whole, when you look at the country as a whole, um, you will be hard pressed to know that. So, Sapalucia, bear with me here 1 second. I'm
Okay.
gonna I'm gonna I'm gonna switch.
Okay, so while our brother gets situated, because where he is, sometimes he has some difficulty when it comes to the internet and the electricity. But uh look, Liberians, we are not here to beat on anybody. Our job, we believe on this platform that Liberia will rise and Liberia shall rise. And in order for Liberia to rise, we have to identify those lapses so that we can correct them and put ourselves on track. If you look at what's going on in Liberia, everything is about politics. If you look at Ellen Johnson Salute time, then look at our military, for example. Because today that should be a hot issue that the legislature should be looking into. That's a hot issue that the countries, the citizens themselves should be addressing. But nobody is talking about it. Why? Because they don't see it impact them. Even though if it continues the way it is going, it may impact them later on. After 14 years of war, any country that I know of that have come to become a developed nation, after 14 years of war, the first thing you're going to do is build your military. That is a system. Build your military to the capacity that it will withstand whatever that is coming. People can sit and accuse somebody else of undermining or putting or sensitive military information, whatever you want to say. That is your prerogative, okay? But the reality is the reality. You can't change that. We need to put system in place where we say, look, our military, what's their strength? How can we shape them? What do they need? Those should be a focus point. But what did the then president do? She called on the United States to go in, and the United States government made it public that they train up to 2,000 to 2,100 military personnel. It is not a hidden something. It is on the military. It was something that the military, the Marines that were in Liberia, they stated. It's not something new. Okay. It was stated. It's a public information. We, some of us who have that background, know that that is not enough for a country, especially for 5 million people. It's not 2,000. No. If that is the strength of the military, 2,100, no. By right, I think a train, and I could have to go back to my military science to check this because it's been a while since I've studied. One soldier supposed to be able to protect 150 people. That's the ratio it's supposed to be. And again, I could be wrong on there, but I think I'm close to that. But one military personnel is supposed to be able to protect 150 people. Okay. Then you're talking about 4.5 or 4. Depending on how many you talk about, 5 million people, 5.7 million people. Think about it, to 2,000. That is impossible to happen. That is why up to now, as we speak, the Guinean military is still at the border. Now, you can dispute whatever you want to say, but the reality is the reality. Why? In my opinion, because of lack of policy. Because if you have good military policy and posture in place, you will build every year, you will do a recruitment. This is the United States. In the United States, there is no weekend that they are not graduating new military personnel. Almost every Friday, you are giving out. They are graduating military personnel every Friday, continuously throughout the year. Okay, that tells you that you need your defense system to be up to date at all times. Why? People are retiring, people are getting old, people are getting sick, people are dying. All these things are going on, so you got to keep recruiting. You can't wait until problem comes before you start recruiting. That is not a system. So we're just playing politics with everything. Everything we talk about is politics. It does not develop a country. Politics will weaken our economic system. Politics will weaken our education system. In fact, politics now have weakened the media because everybody now is trying to side with whoever can give or buy their minutes or their hours to be on their platform. You're supposed to be the full estate. But because of politics, everybody have to align with whatever the sun shines, as the late Kakurakoto used to say, hang your clothes to where the sun shines. That does not build a country. We need to start putting policies in place to train people for the next generation to come. Okay? Now, like I was talking about, I don't know if Sherry is ready to come back on.
Yeah, I'm ready to come back on.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I know you're in flight.
Yeah. So I'm back on. So no, but I heard the commentary, I heard everything you said, and I could not agree with you more, brother. I agree with what you said with regards to the institution building. I wanted to go back just one step with what Robert says Pro said earlier when he mentioned the religious aspect, how churches broke away from the Catholics and all of those different things. Now, I will agree with you because when you look at all of those examples that you gave, those religious examples you gave, those were done fundamentally for biblical or for reasons that were contrary to the scripture, right? So I don't want to get into the religion of it. So if political parties, that's why we are not saying there should be a cap on political parties. Even in the great United States of America, we've been crying that, look, it is not fair to only have 2 political parties in the country. We've been crying about that. We said, let's get a third option. So every year you have the Green Party, you got the Green Party or you the Libertarian, they come up. And we said, let's have a third option. So we are not saying let's put a cap on political parties in Liberia. What we are saying, though, is when everybody come into it because they see Liberia as a piece of meat, they just want to come and cut themselves. Now, If ANC is saying it should not just be a CDC UP thing, so we ANC going to step in because fundamentally we feel that this country is not being ran properly by those two political institutions. Let's welcome ANC. So we are just saying if you see a fundamental flaws in the two-party system in the country, bring another party. We are not putting a cap on it. But don't come in and do the same thing the other people did, and you think you want to come and change something. But another thing I want to say, Sapulisa, since we're talking about institutional building, there are lots of political parties that will come into play during election time. And the reason to do that is because number one, most of those people, they have no intention of staying true to the country. They do that because they are saying, even if I get 5% of the vote, maybe the political party that wins will come and lobby. And lobby my vote, so that way they can give me 2 or 3 ministries in the administration. They can give me 2 or 3 director position in the administration, or they can make me an ambassador. That's the instant gratification we are talking about. It does not build institution. So weed out all of these little political parties that come with their own greed, their own agenda, just to get something, because they are not building nothing. Because by the time the election is over, you don't hear of those political parties ever. So that's what we say.
No, it's true, because since the 2024 election, it was that 2023 election. Right now, we don't hear about all the other, even the popular ones that we were hearing about. The Liberty Party, we better hear about Liberty Party anymore. We better hear about MDR unless there is something going on. So far, when they appointed this when they nominated this new election commission chair, less than 5 political parties came out and said, "Oh yeah, we agree or we disagree." That shows you what it is. But just wait until 2028, going towards 2029. That way, you're going to see all these other grasshopper jumping from everywhere and becoming a multiplying political parties in Liberia. And that's why I'm calling it the multiplying political party system. Okay? We are no longer. So, Robert says, put a point out here, and it's worth noting, right? And since we're talking about policies and politics, you play politics by going to, I don't know, commemorate or open or whatever you want to say, a private owned entity like the mall of Monrovia. So what the government going to do? Take credit for a private entity that was open? Is that a job of the president? And speaking of these things, have you noticed in the last 2 years of this government, this administration, that they dismiss people who are really wanting to work for the Liberian people and not the government? Think about it. This should get your attention. Muda from Commerce, he was fired. He was never charged with corruption. He was not investigated. Nothing happened. Raymond Pay, he was fired. No investigation of corruption, and nothing happened. Then the worst of all, my favorite among them, Dr. Nyan from Enfield. But you know what happened last week? So Dr. Nyan was dismissed based on 11 unsubstantiated claims or allegations, and the case was overturned by the Supreme Court. I don't think after now he's appointed. But do you know what the president did last week? The president awarded him the Excellent Performance Award. So I mean, let that sink in for a moment. A man you fire who was creating credibility for an institution, building an institution who just fought monkeypox, fought some or how do you call it, STIs that was coming in the country, and all these different infectious control, and you're putting them under control. So you fire him, and then you gave him the Excellent Performance Award. Mr. Sheriff, tell me, is that policy-driven dismissal or politics? Is it freeze? But so Liberia, this is something that we need you guys to look at. You fire a man who, I mean, from my own assessment, because before he was nominated to the position, I have gone to Liberia and I met some of my colleagues that work there from high school and other places that work at that particular institution. prior to the UP government, the institution prior to the CDC government, when the Ebola took place, because that's when the MPhil came about, the National Public Health Institute of Liberia. That's what it is. That's MPhil. So then when the MPhil came into Liberia, Yinswa Toba at the time Toba Yinswa was the director at the time. He uplifted that institution, right? He built an institution that gained credibility by CDC, the WHO, and other international organizations, and they were giving donors, they were donating to that institution. From my sources in that institution at the time, right before the CDC government left, I was told right before Toba Yinswa left, this institution was receiving between $2 to $3 million annually to run its affairs. When then we our government came in power, they removed Toba, and Hopkins University said, "Hey, thank you for sending out one of your smart person." So they took him away. Hopkins University took him and brought him. Yeah. Within 3 or 4 years, the donation, because when these agencies are giving money to you, grants, when they're giving you these grants, you have to account for those grants. So that grant of $2 to $3 million dropped significantly to $350,000. And this is sources from within the institution, right? It dropped to $350,000. Then come on Dr. Nyan. Dr. Nyan comes in and he started to create a scene credibility. The institution started winning awards, not in Liberia, in West Africa, they started winning awards. In Africa, they started winning awards. Again, then out of the blue, the president dismissed the guy who is giving credibility to the institution. My people, you tell me now. Let me put it in our Liberia English. You tell me. Is that man is doing all the Google thing? Is that a man to move? So was it because he was serving the Liberian people, or because the president wanted him to serve him, or the people that are loyal to him? Which is it? Are we electing people to serve the country or to serve our personal interests? I mean, you already get your budget. You get everything you need or you want. So we should be putting people in place. Mr. Bwaka is in his 80s. He's not getting young. So let's be real. So if anything he should be doing is to leave a legacy that Liberians will benefit from, that his grandchildren will benefit from, his great-grandchildren will benefit from. Not because he thinks today because he got money and he's president, when he leaves, his system is broken, his children will get the same treatment. If you think I'm lying, let me ask him again, no children. Where are they? Where are the top children? Where are the top men children? What kind of legacy are our leaders leaving so that their children and grandchildren can benefit from? You dismiss a guy who is giving relevance to an institution and winning awards to put somebody incompetent only because they are either related or they can answer to you, yes, sir. And that's what we want in our country. That is why we are saying we should choose policy over politics, because politics weakens institutions and it kills a country. Mr. Sharif.
Yeah. No, I mean, Sabalusi, I gotta definitely give back. I think 2 points that both you and River Says Pro kind of touch on is the whole idea of, again, that goes back to a policy issue, right? Because if you really look at it, that is not the place for a president to be. Because I mean, I feel bad. I feel bad that, you know, we actually had our president involved in that process, because that was not his place in the first place. Now, the second thing that River Says Pro was talking about also is the hiring of Edward Appleton. You know,
yeah. Oh man, the guy gone off. Yeah. So and I think yes. Well, I mean, what Sherry was talking about was concerning your River Says your discussion about Liberia internet. Because they've been talking good thing about the country now. The one moving from the one moving the internet.
So I mean, so basically, when you look at that, it just doesn't make sense. Once election is coming, Sapalusi, you yourself can come to the country, go to a National Election Commission, register, and before you know it, you miss few requirements, you have yourself a political party. And in that case, all you are hoping for, I am just looking for some kind of threshold for me to make it over this hump, 2%, 3%, 5%, and then you try to work. You know, you collaborate with the political party that have the higher percentage. If they win, you got yourself a position. You get yourself a piece of the meat, and that is not what it should be. So let's go back to the policy issue. I think the policy issue is super important to me.
Yes.
When you look, policies, we have very good policies on our books. Liberia, we love to write. I think we pride ourselves in having rules, laws, and everywhere. It's everywhere. Even our traffic system, where in the morning you see people coming the opposite direction. We have policies and laws on the book. However, the implementation of those policies, the implementation of those laws, that's where we fall short. That's where we fall short. And again, that goes all the way back to institution building. The first institution in the country, that executive institution, if we can build it up where the executive of the country, the CEO of the country, is observing rules and following regulation and putting stop to corruption like the executive should do and run the country, oh, that would be a good start. That would be a good start. But right now, as we speak, we're still investigating the last president that was in office. We're still investigating some of his cronies, some of the people that were in office with them. And someone is standing up and saying, I have presidential immunity because the president told me to do so. You know, what are we doing if the executive cannot uphold the policies? They cannot uphold the guidelines of the country. They cannot uphold the handbook of the executive. Then, of course, the institution falls. Once the head falls, the institution falls.
And to for me, I like to go to the man who is in contact with the people. One of the bigger failure, and I will keep saying this until something change. The lawmakers are the worst group of people. Okay? People will say, oh, they don't have power. No, they do. The Constitution gave them power. They are the first branch of government. And besides, the executive, and I want Liberians to look at it from this point. The legislature, Liberians, those are the people you speak through. It's not, you don't speak to the executive. No. I mean, I think that's where the confusion have been. Since they took service from our schools, that's where the confusion is. Liberians do not know who represents them. They think Bwaka represents them. No. The person that represents you is the guy who you voted for in your district. That is why they call it district, because he is close to you. He's right in your community. He's the one that's supposed to go and tell his fellow lawmaker, he said, look, you know what? I am from Baila. Baila needs school. Baila needs clinics. Baila needs this, water, and whatever. Because you chose him, he said, no, this man from my district. He and I talked. He and I sat and we talked and we said, these are things we need. He's supposed to go to that house and represent you to the executive. And if there is a crime being committed in your community, he's supposed to call the police director and question the police director. Hey, I hear armed robbery is prevalent in my community. Why? If the police director cannot give you an answer, he has the right to impeach. The Constitution provides that. He has the right to impeach that police director. He has the right to impeach the ministers. They have the right. But those are the worst people. In fact, they are worse than the executive. Let me be realistic with anybody. They are worse. These are the people who, in fact, you talk about traffic rule. These are the people that went and crafted rules to go against traffic according to them during rush hour. If you think the road is narrow, why not put in a budget to expand the roads? Then we can understand. Why not expand the road, and then you can have a median lane that only lawmaker can pass. But you cannot leave the road as it is, two narrow roads, and you're saying, oh, you're telling the police director, we have made it a law that from 4 o'clock to this time, we are the lawmaker, we got it right. So you're putting yourself above the people who elected you. So they are the worst group of people you see. These are the people who will take money and go to the border and come back and start dancing jolly jolly. These are the, look, Sheriff, I will keep saying this. I hope they can get rid of the 73. And now they're talking about putting another 16 more, I think. You want to make it 89. So you're already there, you're doing nothing. And you're trying to create more. To do what? To take more money? So Liberians, your lawmakers are the worst group of people. Because they're not seeking your interest. They're only going there to collect money and put it in their pocket and driving big cars and allow you to worship them. And that is shameful for our country.
Yep. So let's go to the point. The question that Riverside Pro is asking here. Talking about political parties that just come into the fray, they come into the political system with no good motive at all. Their only agenda is, I hope somebody sees me, that I got some noise that I have made to give me some sort of position in a government. Now, the question he's asking, what should happen to those political parties, especially the standard bearer of those political parties, like the Edward Appletons of the world? What should happen to them? Should they be banned? Should they be banned from running in another election? Should they be dissolved by the National Election Commission? I said no to that question. I said no. They should not be banned by the National Election Commission. It is their right. The Constitution provides that right to them for them to be able to run for the office of presidency. They have that right. So I don't think this solution is the answer to that particular question. Don't do that. But basically, though, what I would say, you should not incentivize bad behavior. You should not incentivize bad behavior. The political parties, I will put it right back upon them. If for some reason you know that there's no way you can win the election without getting Sharif's 5%, then you better make sure that you are now going to negotiate properly, where you say, look, Sharif, there is no way you can actually win this election, but I will want your 5% vote. However, to do that, we have to have a merger. Whether it is a merger and bring those two political parties together to be one force to now move in four direction, then you can now say, okay, this is a merger, this is actually a collaboration. Then you can move in that direction under one umbrella, but not selling yourself as a piecemeal and disappointing all your voters, disappointing people that have been in the trenches with you. And then at the end of the day, only you get elevated and those individuals that stay below they fall by the wayside.
Yeah.
So that would be the way I would want to address this. Just make sure that it is legitimate and these people are not just coming into it, and we stay locked in as a unit and not two different entities. And I'm just buying vote from you, because at this point in time, I think it is a gray area for me, but I truly believe that at that point in time, you're really buying vote from people. That's all you're doing. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think in that regard, I think I mean not. I don't think I'm making a mistake, but I think there's a cutoff for what percentage a person can get to run again in the next election. I don't know if it is 1%. I think either 1% or less than one or something like that. Less than 1%, the political party cannot run in the next presidential election. I think that's
Well,
what.
if it's 1%, if it's less than 1%, then or less than 2%, then ANC I got problem. Sorry.
I think no, but I know no, but the thing about ANC, they will not have a problem because they were not going as ANC. So don't forget that. Okay, they
Oh
were
yeah,
going.
that's good.
Yeah, so those are places that to watch out for those words, right? But those I think it's one. I think it's less than 1% or 1% or something like that. If you don't meet that criteria in the previous election, and I will have to research further, but I think that's what it is. That was to be the cutoff point. Then you don't
Yeah.
participate in the next election. But ANC, Liberty Party, they were all growing as some kind of coalition, so they don't fall in that category, right? But yeah,
Yeah.
so and I personally, where he going? Yes, you can't deny the man his constitutional right, but I think election commission should have some other guidelines that they can use to prohibit
Sure.
this behavior. Yeah, that some fines or punishment or something they can do to discourage it, because that's bad behavior in itself. To just go, hey, I come in last minute time, get my political party, get my names or whatever out there. But the thing about it again, Sherry, on your point, it's going to be hard to do because 90, if I'm not mistaken, 98% of the political parties are individual owned,
Mm-hmm.
right? They are individual owned. They are not an institution that say, hey, look, this is what we have. If you join us, you go by what we say. Give you a
Yeah.
simple example. The last vote for expulsion, okay? Political party had no power over their representative that voted. against that voted for the expulsion of Yeke Koluba. Didn't he? Okay, I'm not trying to give relevance to Yeke Koluba or the process that they went over. I'm just making a point that the political party, even if the political party had a different saying, they had no power to exercise over their members in the House on how they voted. And that's not how it's supposed to be. You and I live in a country where, hey, in fact, right now, what's going on? Only one person in the Senate, Republican, that voted against Donald Trump, and because I think he's not running again. So yeah, and most of the people you see in the Congress here that are going against the Republicans' decision, most of them are running. They say, "Hey, I'm retired. Hey, I'm getting out." Why? Because the political party, whether they like it or not, once the political party says this is what we support, you go along. You either go along or they all power from you, and you're on your own. The next one doesn't support you. But because we don't have institutions, like I said, because we don't have institutions in Liberia, it's difficult to punish these would-be lawmakers who go astray from what their political parties want, because the political party belong literally.
But I think that's but I'm sorry, but I think that's the place where the National Election Commission steps in and say, look, we are not going to legitimize these organizations. We are not going to legitimize these organizations. There are organizations that have been through the struggle. There are organizations, I mean, right now, you hear, let's give CDC, let's give them recognition. Let's give UP recognition. Let's give ANC recognition. There are political parties that are speaking when something happened in a country. There are political parties.
Don't forget the newly multiplying political party, CMC.
Yes, the CMC. So, there are political parties that are stepping up, that are establishing themselves, that are voicing out, speaking out for the people. Now, those political institutions, they are not some last minute to time 2027 registrant organizations. So you start to watch the flow now. When you get to 2027 and you start to see Sharif and Sons movement, you start to see Sapalucia and the people of Bon Country movement. You start to, what is the motive here? What have they done? What has this organization done for the people? You look at it and you weed out those organizations and say, look, man, we are not going to legitimize them. We are not going to give them the certification that they need to be able to, we can't take them seriously. These are just troublemakers. I know the Constitution has something else in there. They have a voice to say, but man, you have to weed out. I think last election, if I'm not mistaken, it was probably 16 or 17 political parties in a race. And then at the end of it, they all start dropping the flies. What was that all for? What was that all for? Just to create, these are not serious organizations. These are just organizations that were there for the now and what's in it for me. It was not what's in it for the Liberian people. No incentive should be given to those organizations. Yeah.
Yes. So now that we have let us find a solution to what Liberia needs. We're talking about policies, and let us give these people what policy will do for them, right? The first thing, yes, I know this is where most of the time I differ with my colleagues when we talk about the say Liberia system. Somebody tell me you got a hospital building and no doctor in there. I don't think there's a hospital. That's just a building sitting up there. Okay, so if we have an institution, if we have system, that system should be able to do something. Like you rightly said, Mr. Sharif, that when Obama went to Kenya, when he was asked by a journalist, "Hey, who's running the country?" He told you the system was running the country, so he didn't have to. So if we got a system, if it is not running things, it is not a system. Like I said, if you build like in my hometown, we built a clinic. The clinic is there. It's called a clinic. But if it is not serving the purpose of a clinic, it is not a clinic. It's just a building standing up there.
Sure.
Right? So if we
I agree.
Have the system must be working. So I don't think we have a system. That's what I believe. Now it's time that we should start all over, because it seems that's what we need to do now. And we can start under the Baka administration. I think the government is trying. I think. But it's just that there are certain things they are still doing like the other people have done in the past, right? They're
Mm.
removing people who really want to do something. Like, for example, the women pay issue. That was from what we heard because the government did not explain anything. So I will go with what I heard. And that's what I keep telling people too. I said, look, if you cannot narrate your story, when the other person gave that story to me, that's what I will believe. Women pay story was not clear. Yes, when he gave his resignation letter and whatever, he tried to be politically correct so that he don't offend maybe his past employer that most of us do. So he went taking the safe route, right? But
Mm.
never be any indication of why he was fired besides what we heard that he was going against some concession agreement that was against the benefit of the Liberian citizens. That's why he was removed. That's what we got. The government have not said otherwise. So I believe that statement. Okay. Now look at D'Artagnan. Okay. Also, 11 counts. His, at least he did a rebuttal and he fought his case. And it was overturned by the Supreme Court. So that tells me there's some fishy thing going on. Muda from Commerce Ministry. Now people are saying the current Commerce Minister, she's not fit, blah, blah, blah. We know these things. This is a guy who he drove luxury cars before he became Commerce Minister. So for somebody to tell me, okay, because he became Commerce Minister, then he already had all these established things. So if you say it was corruption, why was he not prosecuted? But we got people in government currently. I know I brought one of those things out. When the Internal Affairs Minister took over newly, he was building one little space. He said that his office, $180,000. And I know he was $180,000. And he had so many other fishy things. He's still working in government. The LTA managing director, he have had so many different things. The NPA again, the NTA, National Transit. So there are so many people who got corruption allegation, but they still working government. In my opinion, only because the answer to those in charge, there is nothing happening. But these three people I just mentioned, Dr. Nyang, Munda, and Women Pay, we have not had any investigation after they were fired. Of course, it's the president's, it's his privilege, it's his right to hire and to dismiss. We know that. But who are you hiring? Are you hiring people to develop the country or just to serve your party? For me, that's my question.
Sure. You know, look, I mean, I'll go back to the policy issue again. And I think policies should actually start, Mr. Sapalucia. I know, look, when it comes to, I don't want to say federal government, but the national government, when it comes to the national government, there are more than enough policies, procedures in there, a lot of different amended process, different things that should be updated. They got policies in there. But, you know, I think where policies should really start for me is at the political party level. The political party level. Because this is the institution that you are building. That institution, when you become the head, when you win the election, you are now running the country. If your political party, Sabalucia, I don't send my children to school and expect the school to discipline my children.
No.
You don't send your kids to the church and expect the church to discipline your children or to teach them. You do devotion at home with your family. You do all of those things with them. You teach your kids discipline at home. You do all of those things. So the political parties, since they are the ones aspiring to run the country, start with the policy. Let's see how well your political party is structured. Let's see how well you follow your own policies and procedure. Because if you can do so, when you ascend to the presidency or when you ascend to other ministries, you will do likewise. You will carry out the policy and procedures of those institutions. We are not asking you to change it. Those institutions already have policies and procedure. They already have handbooks. They have job requirement. We know what you should do.
Yeah.
You know, we know exactly what's expected of our maritime boss. We know that. We are not asking you to reinvent the wheel. We are not asking you to change policies. We are saying if your political party can be true and follow policies and procedure, it is likely that when you become the head of state, you will enforce that. Policies and procedures will be in place and they will be followed. So I think that's where it starts. It starts from here and then you work our way up to the higher office.
Yes. Let me see if I can get Ro. I think Ro says Pro is trying to come on. Ro says, are you there? Hello?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, Sherry, can you hear me?
Yes, I'm hearing him.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, guys, thank you for the show, man. Great conversation. Sherry, welcome back, man. I don't know if we're on vacation for children, but welcome back.
Thank you, brother.
Okay, so my little concern, because and even I'm gonna make a post about this question that I asked you guys over there to get. I know get some other view if possible, but thanks for the input, Sharif and Sap. But I got a different view where, especially with these political parties, that their standard bearer got higher. I think I would be on the side of they should be ineligible, because this is the thing, though, guys. From what I understand, these gas stations here in the United States, if one Indian or Pakistani guy would come, for example, Sherry would come and open a gas station, he make money, then he cause income, he will out like he leaving, then he give it to SAP, then SAP run it, then that a positive come. That's how they run in that country. I heard that's how the gas station you see, or how they call it, the gas total one, the total. Then the next thing you see another person in there. You say, what's the other guy? Then you see into a whole different place. So this is my thing. That's how those standard bearers are running the country. Because okay, Dr. Edward Appleton, you got hired. Therefore, I think your political party should either be ineligible or dissolved, because we don't want you bringing another person again, somebody else come under there and say, oh, I'm the new standard bearer, boom, he got hired again. Where are we going, guys? How often do we see like Hillary Clinton got hired by Donald Trump or Barack Obama, or standard bearer of a political party that lose the election? I haven't seen it before in this country. What I've seen is members of that political party, that John Kennedy, the controversial health minister, he was a Democrat, but he joined, I see, but this actual standard bearer, I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe you guys can correct me, but I've never seen this in this country before. So I want to set precedent on these people where they don't be running business and come Sarah Besser and assume they don't get hired. Boom. I mean, assume they don't get a adequate number to go second round or win. They get higher, and you would never. And guys, sorry, but this is my last point. What hurt me is you would never hear anything about this political party anymore. You don't hear about Appleton Party. You don't hear about Sarah Beslow. But boom, by the time 2029 coming around, you start seeing it. So I think we need to discourage these kinds of things, guys.
That's a fair point, though. That's a very fair point that you made, because yes, that's it. But it has to come from the election commission, or it has to come from the lawmakers. Those are the two people that I think that have authority over this. But the Constitution, as it stands right now, it gave every citizen the right to form a political party. That's what the Constitution says. You cannot bar anybody, and there is no stipulation in there that states this is what you need to do. However, the election commissions has the authority to say, okay, because of X, Y, Z, we are putting these in place, and it left with the election commission and the Supreme Court to interpret that other law. But your points, I think I agree with you on that point, because I have not seen it in the United States. I know I have seen opposition come and work in the Obama appointed Donald Rumsford from the Defense Secretary of Defense for a while before he left, because you Bush and he came, but he never left and went and stood as a Senate bearer for Republican Party. That's not going to happen. I mean, once you go that route, it's not. But the point is well taken, and I agree with you on that one.
Yeah, no, I mean, I concur, but again, I'm still hanging my hat on the Constitution, and that's why I put it right back to the National Election Commission. They have the authority. They can write rules. They can amend the policies. They can change the guidelines. They can set criteria for political parties without again infringing on their constitutional rights to exist. And so it is one of those gray area. If you don't do it correctly, you will have legal issue on your hand. But if you do it correctly, you go through the proper channel, then of course you're not going to have the saga we have in the country now with the Yeke expulsion, where some people are saying, look, you did not follow due process. We want to follow due process to make sure that everybody's voice is heard and no one is being censored, but people are exercising their freedom to establish political institutions and to be able to manage them. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yeah. So thank you so much, River Says, and thank you for your contribution.
Yes.
All right. So yeah, so Mr. Sherry, you see, and that's the problem. It is good that and I will try to see how we can summarize what the benefit of policies is versus politics. But the
Mhm.
points made when it comes to those two now, right now, as we hearing people talking about this to investigate Senator what's his name, Connett from Bapulu, because
Mhm.
according to and so what is Tuma or whatever the guy name is, the other senator. So you see how I used to have some level of respect for the senators as compared to the white to the guys in the house, because every time I watch the Senate sitting, it looks more responsible. The debates are more civil. However, the guys in the house, they just make a lot of noise and stuff like that. But this particular last statement he made on Facebook made me to start questioning, to having a second thought about the Senate, because when Senator Connor made a statement, which he claimed was of issue of exposing or disclosing sensitive, classified as he made it seem, which is not accurate, it's not true. But even if you were to say it in chamber, if he was familiar with the Constitution, it states that lawmakers acting or saying or deliberating on any issues in chamber cannot be investigated or arrested for that. So he's a senator and he doesn't know that, and the common man in the street knows it. That caused it to some serious questions that should be given to that particular guy. And most of them say they are
Mm.
lost. So what law are they learning? I have not been to law school, but I read this constitution all the time just to get myself familiar with it. I try to keep a copy. So I'm trying to think what was he thinking when he made that statement?
Mm. 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 Again, not to kind of deviate from the topic at hand, but I think your point is well taken, Mr.
Right?
Sapolus here.
Yeah.
And look, I look at all of those things and say, look, if I should just make my kind of closing on this whole thing, I will go back to the issue of building institution. Man, it is so paramount to everything we're doing here. Because,
Yes.
man, if the institutions are built and not just built on someone establishing it, but built on policies and procedure, man, those policies and procedure they translate into any office you go to, because you learn good governance, because you learn how to actually carry and care for the country. You follow your own guidelines, you follow your mission, your vision, you follow all of those things, and it just translates into good governance. And so I want to go back to, again, to the to the political institutions in the country. Build the institution, not for now. Give yourself time. Build it for the long run. You may not win election now, but in years to come, you will be established, you will carry yourself, you will be responsible, and you will have this name recognition that you don't have now.
Yeah.
Just continue to work for the Liberian people, continue to do those things. When you do those things, man, your time is coming, because people will see and they will realize, they will know exactly what is being done in the country. But right now, everybody is upset. The CDC coming and say, oh, we want UP. UP coming, no, we want CDC. We are just playing this name recognition game, and politics have become the norm in the country. And without strong policies in place, this is just what we're going to have. And we're just going to be having this revolving door that leads to nowhere. And you are just going to find yourself in this bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger mess. And people are just going to get resentful, resentful, resentful. And every election cycle, we're going to get back to this point and just reverse our course and just get back to protest. And so I truly believe that in order for the country to move forward, for Liberia to rise, we need stronger political institutions, and we need policies and procedure that govern those political institutions that will translate into the higher offices of the country.
Yes, my brother, and thank you so much for that outline. I'm not going to go to the political institution side because you have addressed that, but this is what I can tell us Liberians. As Liberia, if we want Liberia to rise, and if Liberia should rise, we need a policy-driven institution that can shift the national decision making, right? Instead of, because right now, let me tell us, the politics in Liberia is all about personality. Okay, the charisma of George Weah, the charisma of Wakai, or whoever you want you affiliate yourself with. But if we have a policy, what it does for us is we will have every decision we make will be based on evidence, research, right? So, for example, if we talk about building the healthcare system, we'll be looking at data to say, okay, what worked for Ebola? What did not work? What worked for coronavirus? What did not work? Then you are doing policy analysis. Other than that, all we're doing is playing politics. What did we do during the Ebola time? Ellen Johnson collected some money. She distributed in the wrong places, giving national security this amount and giving the healthcare worker. I remember that time because I was one of those critical voices at the time. Giving healthcare worker, the whole of Monserrado County had 2 pickups. And they had another, I think about 3 pickups that they assigned for Bonkante, Maigibi, Lofa, and Nima County. That is not policy. Okay, but you are giving money to information, more money to information ministry than you give the health ministry. I had the data at the time. So that was not a policy driven. It was based on politics, based on where her interest was. Who are those that can give her kickback? In my opinion, who can give her kickback readily? That's what you're doing. But the healthcare system that needed it at the time, the money was not given there, right? So if we want to build an institution or a country based on policy, what it will do, it will give us, it will generate evidence-based researches that will develop our country. It will strengthen our institution and reduce the political fragmentation that we have, because that's all, and that's why I'm calling them now the multiplying political system, because we don't have multi-party anymore. So the multiplying political system is what we're now creating. Why? Because we do not have policies driven or mechanism in place to run Liberia, but rather we're going based on politics. It will promote multi-stakeholders collaboration, where in healthcare, we'll look at the laboratory, the pharmacy, the healthcare, the social worker, and we all will collaborate, bring our different data, compare, do analysis, and say, hey, this is how we can address this issue. Because it's not about emotion, it's not about personality anymore. It's about collaborating with one another to solve a problem, right? All we're doing now in Liberia is convenient. We're not trying to find solution. We're trying to be convenient. If I can just side well with Mr. Walker, hey, I'm good to go. We're moving. Okay, it will improve our civic engagement and it will create accountability, which I think is lacking in this administration and everywhere in almost all of our institutions, including the House of Representatives. There is no accountability, right? It will drive our innovation and modernization. Exactly. Because if we have these things going on, guess what? Young men, instead of they're trying to be politicians, they'll be working to become engineers. They'll be working to be doctors. They'll be working to be somebody else other than politicians. If we have policy-driven institutions or government running, this is what it will do for our country. It will ensure policy continuity across the administration. It will not say, okay, George Weah comes, he built a bridge, then what Ellen Johnson did. They were building good buildings, good infrastructure. She came and broke some of them and sold them. Then we have to build new institutions, new buildings. You spend millions of dollars to break things down and spend millions to reconstruct. Because of a lack of system or lack of policies, that's where we end up. So if Liberia should rise, Liberian, let us work together. Let us start building institutions. Let us start doing everything based on policy. With that, Liberia, I want to say it has been a great day speaking to you, and thank God for my brother to join me today, wherever he's enjoying himself. My brother, I love you. And as you guys enjoy your vacation, but when you come out, you take over so that myself can take vacation one day. But I would say, Liberia, we love you guys. Take care. Have a blessed week. And I hope you can share our podcast so that I can go out. Some of you may have connection to the president or those in charge. We are not here to criticize them. We are just here to give our lending voices so that it can help drive our nation in the right direction. With that, Liberia shall rise, and we all will rise. Mr. Sheriff, I see you later.
Okay, on that note, this backing dog is out.